we'll move on to the curator, mate. So one thing that we always mentioned is that we wouldn't be satisfied if the curator said goodbye and then we were left to our devices before season 2. We wanted very much some meat out of the curator. Now, we didn't get maybe as much as one would have hoped. However, we got something, so I will take that. I think the curator scenes were a lot stronger than the ones in than House of Ashes.
Yeah.
Just a few thoughts I had about the whole curator scene is it was really interesting to see him cross the list of names off of like Herman Mudgett, Henry Holmes, Hector Munday, Grant from Dumay, and I felt it kind of backed my spirit theory a little bit, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Another bullet point I have is he just throws some really odd puns and jokes about, like, you know, the characters he killed off, I was like, oh, don't rub salt in the wind, curator.
Insensitive.
Exactly. Something else I wanted to mention as well, mate, is that he says we'll meet again in the future. Now, obviously, probably a direct nod to Directive 8020, right? Like, if you take it really literally. One quote I wanted to cite and get your thoughts on, mate, is he said, "I'll tackle the paperwork." Now, I don't know if that is kind of like just a, analogy, but it certainly gets you thinking about his purpose, doesn't it? If he mentions, "I'll fill in the paperwork."
I hope there's more to it, because it just reduces the curator just to some admin guy. I'll fill in.
That works for Jeff Bezos.
Oh, you've done your bit. Piss off now. I'll fill in the paper. It'd be a bit of a bum note, but yeah, like he said earlier on in the game about the rules. It seems as though it does seem like he's somehow working for someone. Or there's something holding him back from being able to do more in his job. He mentioned this whole rules thing, and maybe that's another thing of him filling in the paperwork. I don't know. It's so vague that how can you interpret it? I do wish they did more, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we do have that shot though, don't we, where like a gust of wind bursts through the front door and goes down the hallway. Which he does his intro, and then tries to break into like his library or study room. I mean, did you have any thoughts about that, mate?
Yeah, and this is what I mean. I thought something was going to go down. I was like, oh, brilliant, yes. Like, either we're going to, start to walk around the repository, or maybe it turned out that his repository was based somewhere on the island. I don't fucking know. Like, it could have been some loose tie into the parts of the series. No, the interesting fact is though, whether it was just this game or not, there is now this sort of Greek mythology undertone being thread in this series now. You think of the ferryman. It was like on the side of the bus in Little Hope. You've of course got the whole Charon thing, or Charon, I don't know how you pronounce it, that was present in The Devil in Me. You've got the Odals, which we don't really know what's meant to come of. I've looked up the achievement. Apparently it's impossible to get 200 Odals in your first playthrough, so you have to play it multiple times in order to get 200. What are they used for? Down the line, we don't know. So it could be something to season 2, I'm guessing.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about my curator theory. I don't know, about the wind, I don't really know what to make of it, but when we ask who the curator is, I've heard different theories. My brother thinks he's an angel. Loads of people think he's like a servant for someone. I just have a little gut feeling, because of the feather that comes off of him, and he possibly is a crow, and that's how he appears in all these stories, right? And he always seems to appear in the background of usually when someone's about to die or something's about to go down. That it does make me lead to that theory that he is death himself, and with that gust of wind blowing through the door, knocking it down, maybe that's the universe kind of angry at him because there's an imbalance. We often see this thing in movies and books where death needs to kind of maybe take a life to give another or something. And I thought that maybe we weren't playing by the rules, or maybe he wasn't, or we weren't playing the story how it should have been played. Thus, the universe is kind of unhappy with the Curator and his doings. I could be way off. You know, at this point we know so little. You can only stab in the dark, can't you? But that's just what, you know, that scene led me to believe, mate.
Oh no, interesting. I mean, like I say, it's gonna be a season 2 thing, isn't it? If there was an opportunity to go into it a little bit more for a cliffhanger, it would have been this game. We haven't necessarily got it. We haven't got the knockout blow, so we'll just have to wait and see Directive 8020 if there's more little breadcrumbs.
Yeah, and I guess they can't do too much because we still have full games, don't we? So like, I feel like maybe they have to, you know, fill in those, you know, games with curator narration as well. So we'll have to see what happens going forward.